I'm entitling this drasha, Joseph becomes a viceroy, and this is it has to be one of the stunning individual victories described in the Torah. Um, so we know that in this parsha of Miketz, Yosef interprets the dream of Paro, and he says that there are going to be 7 plentiful years to be followed by 7 years of famine, and the intensity of the famine is going to be such that the plentiful years will be forgotten, and the idea is that Hashem is bringing this to pass, and Yosef concludes that Paro should appoint what he calls an ish navon v'chacham, an individual who is discreet and wise. And we're going to talk about those two terms in greater detail. An ish navon v'chacham to manage the problem. Now, and we know that the Paro follows his advice. Now, Rav Hirsch distinguishes between chacham and navon. A chacham is a person who takes things as they are, and what they are meant to be from Hashem. The chacham doesn't generate any new knowledge, but realistically it sizes up things as they are. The navon creates knowledge and he attempts to get to the essence of things as he can. And when it comes to a tension between factors, like for example, the question of how much food to save from the plentiful years to the years of famine, to trade off one factor to another, to judge consequences, that's what Navon does, and he does it with the aid of Chacham. The two go together. It's very hard to talk about Navon without Chacham, or Chacham alone without Navon. So Paro agrees with Yosef's recommendations, and the sense it's 41:38. Paro says unto his servants, "Can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? V'nimtza chazeh ish asher ruach Elokim bo." So the Abarbanel has a question. He says, if what is needed, if what Paro desires is a chacham and navon, then what is the importance of ruach Elokim? What is the importance of nevuah, the inspiration from God? Secondly, if ruach Elokim is the main factor, then what is the importance of navon v'chacham? Yosef apparently didn't know that he had these qualities on his own. He knew he had nevuah because he talked about what he had to say came from Hashem. So what the Abarbanel is doing is trying to deconstruct these two factors. And the Abarbanel answers his questions as follows. The first point is, She'ein ha-nevuah, he says, Shora ela al chacham b'sichlius ve'al navon b'malas hamidos. That Hashem doesn't provide prophecy to an individual unless he has these qualities of chacham, of sizing up things as they are, and navon as being able to create knowledge. That's the first point he makes. Then he says, "V'hi hamadrega hanevuis hi hayoter gedola min hamadrega hamadis." That the aspect of prophecy is of greater stature than the quality of knowledge, of recognizing things as they are. And finally, he says that when Paro validated what Yosef had to say, he's validating Yosef based on Yosef's personal qualities. He says, "L'chein kevan she'ata chacham v'navon v'shalem b'hanhagas atzmecha." In your own life, in your own outlook, you have things under control, right? And that's why I'm appointing you, says Paro, to be the manager of my house, my basically, and also the manager of my kingdom. based on Yosef's personal qualities that he has, the Navon v'Chacham aspect, and he has this ruach in his that he has access to, right? Now, the Ramban talks about this phrase hanimtza chazeh ish asher ruach Elohim bo. Can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? So the Ramban comments, Bavur shehaya ivri, since Joseph was a Jew, v'heim sonei nefes hamitzrim, and there's the gap, there's this divide between a Jewish person and the Mitzrim. There's a conflict between them. The Mitzrim are not going to eat with the Jewish person. They're not going to befriend him. Ki tmeim heim etzlam. That the Jew is impure with respect to the Egyptian, and so v'chein lo ratza limnoso mishneh below reshusam. He didn't want to appoint him without their permission. So he said. So the Ramban says, he putting these words in the mouth of Paro. Amar lahem shelo yimtzeu mitzri kamohu ki ruach Elohim bo. You're not going to find a single Egyptian who has this ruach Elohim bo, as Joseph said he had, and as he had his words came out from ruach Elohim. No Egyptian has this kind of quality. He didn't want to embarrass them, so he didn't talk about Navon v'Chacham. He's talked about Ruach Elohim, which is a special quality that Joseph had and the Paro's advisors did not have. And then he said, Acharei shehodu amar li Yosef. After they agreed, amar li Yosef, he said to Yosef, Acharei hodia Elohim oscha, since God has revealed you as kolzos, ki mi'asher haya hapisron tov v'nachon be'einei Paro, since the interpretation of the dream was right in the eyes of Paro and in the eyes of his servants. He says, "Be'einem ki'ilu kvar ba hakol kamo shepatar lahem." That Paro is saying, that the Ramban is saying, it's like Paro says that the dream has come into actuality, that the dream is implemented as he spoke, as he accepts it as though it already happened, it was already something that was factual, right? And it seems to me this is an example of very full, complete trust between Paro and Yosef, based on two qualities: the Ruach Elohim aspect and the Chacham v'Navon aspect. They seem to go together, and Paro accepts them completely. Now, I think it's important to say how fortunate we were at that time. We, as the Jewish people, were that Ruach Elohim and Chacham v'Navon came together. They were consistent. They were accepted by both of them by Paro. They were combined. It's so fortunate that happened, because it's difficult sometimes to reconcile Chacham v'Navon on one hand and Ruach Elohim bo on the other. And we should try to imagine what kind of a difficult would be when a person believes in Hashem and has the Ruach Hadoshem, but he doesn't have Chacham v'Navon, or the opposite. Suppose a person has Chacham v'Navon and he doesn't have the Ruach Elohim. What is to be done then? Clearly, there's more of a room for doubt and debate and discussion and criticism about that. And it seems to me that often it's that situation that we have today, where many people doubt the facts and the use of the facts when they have the belief in Hashem, or consequently, where they accept the facts but they don't believe in Hashem. And it disturbed me when I read an op-ed in the New York Times by Paul Krugman, who's an economist, somebody who's accepted, as someone of an intellectual. He says, he's talking about how so many people reject facts and they believe in Hashem. For rejecting facts, he says, come naturally to people who insist that they're acting on behalf of God. And it seems to be a problem when you have difficulty reconciling Chacham v'Navon on one hand and Hashem on the other. And it bothers me to think that a person can believe in Hashem and yet reject facts. And he's talking about the problem of global warming, and he's also talking about where it's very controversial by people who nevertheless believe in God, and even those people who reject the results of the election, the facts, and they're believers in God. So it's something to think about, something to challenge ourselves to try to understand how it can be that a person who's deeply believing in God, in Hashem, and yet rejects facts, and how fortunate we were with Yosef and Paro that the two went together, the two came together, the two were accepted together, which facilitated Yosef becoming a viceroy in Egypt. Shabbat Shalom.